Joining me now, the host and managing editor at NewsOne Now, Roland Martin, and MSNBC contributor and sports columnist at the Daily News, Mike Lupica. Good to see both of you. Roland, this has turned into a kind of a vigorous national debate. What do you make of it?
Well, first and foremost, Colin Kaepernick has kept the focus on the issue of police brutality. That's why he is doing this. I think the problem is too many people want to focus on the actual protest. Why is he kneeling or standing, as opposed to the why? That's what's most important here, because I think too many Americans don't want to have that level of debate and conversation about the issue of police brutality in America.
Well, I mean, there is an aspect of this when you look at it, and this is not the first time, Mike, that a sporting event has been used for protest, but, you know, an NFL game, Sunday, getaway, you get into your mindset, whether it's your team, whether, is this the right place?
Oh, sure. We don't get to pick where people express their beliefs in this country. And I agree with Roland. I think Colin Kaepernick has made a principled stand, even though he's not standing, okay? The problem is, I think a lot of these young men who are now joining this are sort of starting to treat it like it's the ice bucket challenge, and they think that this is something cool to do. One of the players who took a knee yesterday said, well, it's about injustice. Okay, but what are we going to do about injustice? I recall a famous story about a screenwriter and a producer were in Hollywood one day, and the guy says, I've got an idea for you. And the writer says, okay. And the guy says, World War II. And the writer says, what about World War II? And he says, hey, you're the writer. So we have to expand this conversation. But, Chris, the problem is every time we have a conversation about race in this country, it gets complicated and loud and contentious and even sometimes naive.
Except one thing, Mike, except one thing. First of all, I spent a couple of weeks ago, I talked to Colin Kaepernick over the weekend when I saw Doug Baldwin talk about this protest the Seahawks were going to do. I tweeted, I said, dude, you need to explain what this is. Doug and I actually communicated via text message. And so I think first and foremost, a lot of these players, enlightenment is first. And so what often happens is we go, well, what's the plan? What are you going to do? Well, first off, I think you have to be enlightened to what the issue is. And I'm not comparing Kaepernick to Dr. King, but Kaepernick is 28. MLK was 25 when he got involved in Montgomery bus boycott. And so I think now what you're seeing is guys go to the next step. Now without being enlightened, now we begin to hear what are you going to do, what more you're going to do.
Well, and the NFL seems confused a little bit about this, at least Roger Goodell, who has sort of changed his tune on Wednesday in an email to the AP. He said he doesn't necessarily agree with what Kaepernick is doing, but then here's what he said to Matt Lauer.
Listen, I support our players speaking out on issues that they think need to be changed in our society. I think when our players speak out and they feel strongly and passionate about something, I think it's a good thing for us.
Misstep by Goodell. What's the NFL's role in all of this, Mike?
Well, they won't like this at the moment they start to think it's bad for business, okay? Because the NFL is like most people I've ever encountered in sports. When they say it's not about the money, it's always about the money. Yes. So when they don't like the optics of this, and I don't know where we're going. I'm trying to focus my attention on Colin Kaepernick. And I was glad that what we saw yesterday was dignified on both sides of this issue. I think Roland will agree with me because, Chris, guess what? September 11th was not a day for anybody to screw around in this country. And I don't think anybody treated this frivolously, whether they were locking arms as a show of unity or whether they were taking a knee.
But guess what, Mike? But guess what? Yesterday, the President of the United States did a video that was played in all NFL stadiums, and in some of those stadiums, the President was booed when he was talking about unity.
So every politician was booed, pretty much, right?
No.
Rudy Giuliani was booed.
No, I understand that, but follow me here.
Okay.
Follow me here. It's interesting that people will say, wait a minute, 9/11 is a day of unity, a day of patriotism, a day of all of us being together. And so if we accept that you have the right to boo the President who's speaking of unity, then a player has a right to also protest.
But Roland, has anybody really disputed that, even when the president said that players have a constitutional right to do this, has any reasonable person disputed that they have a right to do this?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. My goodness. I mean, I've been engaged with people for the past 2 weeks. I was battling model Kate Upton last night, who felt it was just dead wrong for them. She even said, you can do whatever you want, but not on this day.
She tweeted about it. And let me just play really quickly, and my producer is going to really have an aneurysm in the control room. But let me play what Donald Trump had to say about all this. We don't have it? Do I have the verbate here? I don't. Okay, but
Chris, it's ironic that a guy who
he basically doubled down, saying that those who are protesting should find other countries to live in.
Yeah, but this is a president. This is a guy running for president who says that we have to make America great again, and talks and gave the darkest acceptance speech I've ever heard in Cleveland. And now he's going to be upset because Colin Kaepernick is upset about stuff in America. How's that work?
And I'm confused. You want to be the president of the United States, and if you win, you will swear to hold and protect the Constitution of the United States, foreign and protect us from foreign and domestic, when the very Constitution is the First Amendment for a reason. And so now you're saying get out of the country. So what? They got to get out. Muslims can't come in. Man, come on.
Roland, Mike, provocative and good conversation. Thank you both guys. Thank you so much.